is a football podcast, man. Meat, football, good. Man, we talk football. We eat burgers.
Welcome back to the Fantasy Brothers podcast. Ben, we're back. We're excited. We're stoked. And it's Champ Week.
Feeling good. No, I'm not.
Don't lie. You've got a 40-point lead in your championship matchup. You feel good.
So I've had bigger leads and lost. I've had bigger.
That is true. That is true. But I would feel good about your situation if I were totally honest with you.
It should, but I don't. I've had too much trauma to feel good about it. Let's say that.
How about we set the scene this way? You're in a super flex league where your opponent's sole and only quarterback is Sam Howell, who just got benched, which means your opponent has 0 quarterbacks in a super flex league in the championship.
He's got one.
Who's he got?
Bryce Young.
Oh, okay. Well,
I mean, Bryce Young
he's
did just
got
drop
0 quarterbacks.
Points. He did just drop 25 points on Green Bay.
Okay, well, every squirrel gets an acorn, okay?
Up to that point, he hadn't broken double digits in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games.
Oh, dear God. I didn't realize it was that bad.
Oh, it's
bad.
No.
Well, I think you got it. If Bryce Young is his only quarterback, maybe he could pick up Jaren Hall. I think I saw that he's going to start for Minnesota this weekend. He could roll out Jaren Hall and
is he?
Bryce Young.
I picked up Nick Mullins so he couldn't start him against me. So maybe I need to go get Jaren Hall.
Yeah, no, Nick Mullins will not start for the Vikings on Sunday.
I was playing keep away like, no, you cannot have him.
That's good. We got news on this episode. We'll talk about our championship matchups. There's a few of them that we are on pins and needles about. We've also got some things we learned this year from this lovely game that we play, some of those lessons that we took away from it. If you're listening in your podcast player, wherever that might be, leave us a rating and review. It means the world to us. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscription button, hit the bell notification so that you can be notified whenever we post a video. Shall we hop into this with some news?
Let's get into it.
So Russell Wilson got benched and is probably going to be cut by the Broncos in the offseason.
Yep.
This is a development.
And his cap hit over the next 2 years is like $80 million.
Oh, it's bad. It's very bad.
I don't know how you recover from this.
I think so. I've watched several different breakdowns of this situation because I don't understand it. Because the best I understand it, his mega deal that he signed when he was traded to the Broncos kicks in next year. And I don't know how you could get out of that because it was like $200+ million. I can't see any scenario where you could get out of that. But apparently, if they eat I think it's a $37 million and then a $40 million dead cap hit over the next 2 years, that's all you got to pay for that massive deal.
They're going to get rid of him no matter what then, so I guess they would rather pay just the $80 million and just wash their hands of the situation.
Yeah. So
they're going to suck the next 2 years.
I guess. I mean, if you draft a quarterback and they're good, I think they would be fine because, the rookie quarterback will get paid nothing. And then you have Russell Wilson on the books and you can still be good because you end up paying like a net $45 million for your quarterback position, which is doable. But outside of that, I can't really see a scenario where they're okay because they're going to have to finagle the cap a little bit in order to make that work. I actually haven't even looked at their projected cap space. I don't know what they're working with, but it seems iffy.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's cheap. I mean, they do have some some young players, but also some young players that are coming up on contracts. Jerry Jeudy is due for a contract soon. Pat Surtain's going to be due for a contract soon. Javonte Williams. I don't know what Courtland Sutton's contract situation is. I can't imagine they hang on to him, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have seen that Jerry Jeudy is going to get moved. They were trying to shop both he and Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton probably worked himself, I don't know, maybe gave himself a longer runway with the team this year because he has been pretty good. But
yeah, we're about 2 years late on the Jerry Jeudy versus Courtland Sutton argument.
We are. It's not like we have done that
2021.
We've been doing this for a couple of years now, trying to figure out who's the guy.
And
it's
I've been
alternated.
right up until this year.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Tim Patrick is getting paid. He's got oh, good Lord. He's going to get cut. Tim Patrick has a $16 million cap hit next year.
Oy.
So that will go away.
Didn't he tore his ACL?
Yeah. I think it was something like he tore his ACL and then he tore his Achilles.
Oh. And he's like 30 years old.
Yeah, they would save. Where's they would save $10 million by cutting Tim Patrick. That's probably going to get done. There's a few other moves they could probably make. All that to say, Russell Wilson is out. Jarrett Stidham is in this Sunday. And
it's hard to imagine. Sorry, go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
No. Like I don't know what you do in this situation. Obviously, and here's where I do want to go with this because it is a weird situation where Russell Wilson's numbers on paper are not terrible. I think he's sitting at like 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 8 picks, which is basically the exact same thing that Baker Mayfield has done, and Baker Mayfield might win like comeback player of the year. Patrick Mahomes is, I think, at like 3,700 yards, 26 touchdowns, and like 11 or 12 picks. So, like, the numbers are pretty good on paper. Yeah. But I think the nuance of it is, on paper they're good, but like in terms of executing the team's game plan, Russell Wilson has not been very good, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine, though, that he is not somewhere next season.
Yeah.
Like, someone's going to get Russell Wilson. And I'm
It
curious,
is just a matter of
more
who.
just to see who you think it would be.
I kind of think it'll be the Steelers.
I thought the Steelers, I don't want it to, but the Falcons would be an option.
I don't think the Falcons are going to do it. I feel like it would be stupid.
I hope they don't, but look at the players we've got. We have been saying we're a quarterback away, so yeah.
And maybe you are, but I don't think Russell Wilson.
But
yeah, Russ does not fix that situation. And what's really interesting about Russ is, like, could you see him go be a bridge quarterback somewhere? I don't know if I can see Russ being a bridge quarterback. Like Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr,
Russ
feel like
let
bridge
himself be a bridge quarterback.
Exactly. Like Russ feels like Cam Newton, kind of, where he is either your guy or he's out of the league. And he's doing a podcast. Like it's just I just can't see Russell Wilson being a bridge quarterback for somebody.
Podcast is Russell Wilson's podcast.
He had one a few years ago, and then he just stopped doing it. He did. He had one when he was with the Seahawks.
Nobody listened to it.
Yeah.
Mr. Unlimited.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Russ is
he's
I don't know
so
him as a person,
corny.
but like he is
He's probably a very nice guy, but he
that's
is
what I've heard is like he's a decent person, I think.
Yeah.
He's just weird.
He's odd. And I was in on Russell Wilson when he played at NC State. I mean, I loved Russell Wilson. He was awesome in college. And then when he got drafted to Seattle, and then obviously those first few years, it was like, oh, this is so great, Russell Wilson. And then he just got weird. He started trying to cook, and then the meals that were coming out of this Let Russ Cook thing were burnt and charred. And then the kitchen was on fire. It
all
was
happened
like,
when he married
what's going
Ciara.
on? That could be very related. I don't know how much of it's related, but it could be related.
Travis Kelce has seen his numbers decline, dating Taylor Swift. Long story short, stay away from pop stars.
Travis Kelce's only a 34-year-old tight end, but
you can
no
put
big
that
deal.
in the things we learned is don't date a pop star.
Fair enough. Yeah. Don't date famous people. T.J. Hawkinson tore his ACL and MCL this past Sunday. We're going to talk about some tight ends later on things we learned.
My champion.
Yeah. So obviously this season, I mean, it's so late in the year that it's honestly kind of inconsequential.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I think his damage is done like he is the tight end one probably.
Right. But as far as going forward with an injury like that, like, I don't know. He might come back mid-season next year. Maybe he's back by training camp. I feel like that would be very, very optimistic. But
I do think he'll open next season on the PUP probably. More than likely.
Yeah.
Unless he is Javonte Williams for some reason.
Right. But with a guy like that who has been very, very good this year, but you're going to carry that. Extension. He did. So he's paid. But he's also going to be injured to start of next year for at least the first 4 games, maybe the first 6 games. How do you value somebody like that in Dynasty where you've been on record as saying he's the tight end 1, now factoring in the injury and then also kind of the uptick in tight end production as a whole? Where do you see T.J. Hawkinson right now?
Yeah, it's tough because it's one of those things where I think as soon as he comes back and is playing healthy again, he jumps back to the tight end 1. But people aren't going to value him that way because more than likely he's going to miss some time next season. So you're probably going to see like Andrews and Laporta going ahead of him in some startups, definitely ahead of him in redraft. But I think he will jump back to tight end 1 once he starts playing. So basically what I'm saying is I'm not 100% sure either because I kind of want to put him at the tight end 1, but with an asterisk of be prepared to have a backup for like potentially 6 weeks or something like that.
Yeah. I think it'll be really interesting because depending on who you talk to, and we're going to do this exercise later in the episode, the tight end like top 10 right now for Dynasty is going to vary based on who you talk to. And so Hawkinson is going to be a really interesting guy to value going into the offseason. It's going to be depending on who you talk to.
We'll talk about it later. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll hop into it. Last piece of news here, Marquise Brown was thrown on the IR for the Cardinals, so you won't have him in championship week.
He wouldn't been doing much anyway.
No, I don't know. If you were to do a poll of all the championship rosters that had Marquise Brown on it, I think he would be like a bench warmer on all these championship rosters.
Yeah, he's like the championship guy tossed Gabe Davis to somebody for Marquise Brown one week and got him.
It was like when Jason Terry won a championship with the Mavericks over the Heat in like 2011, where he's just sort of a role player.
Pretty much.
Marquise Brown's the Jason Terry of your fantasy football team.
And I do think he's a good player. And I do think wherever he goes in the offseason, he will have value.
Oh, for sure.
But 2023 is done.
Yeah, we can close the book on 2023 for Marquise Brown. The disappointment that it has been. All right, we're in some championship matchups, and I figured we're not going to dedicate a whole episode to it like we did last week. But I feel like it is worth talking about. They're probably fed up. They're like, okay,
we don't care about your team. We need to know how you can help my team.
Yeah, but
guess what? It's my show.
We're going to take a moment. We're going to talk about our teams because it's fun and we enjoy doing it. You've got a championship matchup in log in Ordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah. We do 2-week championships in that league.
Yes. We need to. There needs to be more 2-week championships. I feel like a lot of people.
I like 2-week championships. Most people do 1 week. I
do too. A lot of people do 1 week championships. I kind of enjoy
the 2-week.
My preferred playoff format is 1 week for the first round and second round of the playoffs, and then 2-week championships, where you can still have random things happen to get you to the championship. But then I feel like in that 2 weeks, you get more likely than not the best team of those two teams ends up winning, where it's not as random, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think the best team deserves a shot in the championship. But yeah, I do like all the other weeks, I'm fine. 1 week, one and done. Like round 1, round 2, one and done, and then 2 weeks. Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, we have 2-week championships in the two main dynasty leagues. Week 1 has come and gone for both of us. We're in different boats though with how the first week went and how we feel about this final week coming up.
Yeah. Mine. The team. I still feel fraudulent a little bit like mine. My team shouldn't be here, but still is. Well, you give me that look. The team is very, very good all around.
Yes,
extremely good.
I give you that look because you've got, like, if you just pulled up and threw it in through your lineup in a Facebook group chat or something, and you said rate my dynasty team, everybody would be like, "Holy crap, this team is great."
He's like, my favorite comment is always like, "What are you playing in a 4-team league?"
Yes, people would leave that comment on your team. But the problem is it hasn't performed. And it's the same thing with my team.
There's still the 1 seed. We're 9-4 regular season. Just had a lot of things go wrong, mainly injuries. I mean, Joe Burrow's on the team and Justin Herbert. So obviously I have lost both of my starting quarterbacks going into this.
Yeah.
I have had Jonathan Taylor on this team, so I've been most of the season without him. And yeah, so, I mean, that's affected. Jamar Chase is on the team, so that's affected him. I traded for Cooper Kupp in the offseason. He's been, like, on and off. So really the only, I guess, anchor pieces have been Travis Etienne and Jahmyr Gibbs the whole season have kind of held it down for me. So,
yeah.
I mean, you got Matthew Stafford still in there. He was the backup. Got him for next to nothing in the offseason, which turned out to be great. But yeah, so there's excellent, awesome players on the team. It's just kind of been a slog of a season through injuries, but we still made it. So we'll see.
It's so funny because we talked about on the last episode all the things that could have happened for me to have won our matchup, and then I didn't, obviously. And now that gave me an invitational to the 3-4 matchup where I'm getting absolutely throttled. Like Hulk smashing Loki in Avengers, throttled by the team that we feel like is the best team on paper and in the lineups. He's killing everybody, and he just had a bad week and lost to the team that you're facing in the finals, and now he is just handing me a butt kicking 2 weeks in a row. He's probably going to beat me by like 70.
Path.
I mean,
if you put his team too into a group chat, they would say the same thing. Like, are you playing in a 4-team league? Like, he's got Josh Allen. He literally, in my opinion, has the top 3 receivers, like, for 2023. Like, he's got Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, and Amon-Ra. So with that combo plus Josh Allen and Brock Purdy, like, he has been just steamrolling people.
Yeah. He's been killing it, and he's killing me, and it's awful.
Yeah,
so
I'm sorry. But you are in a championship in the one league where I would sacrifice everything to win a championship in this league, in the Granddaddy of them all. And I want it noted that you did beat me in the semis, but I would be absolutely crushing both the teams in the championship right now if I had made it.
Yes. After 1 week.
So I'll give the floor to you.
It's really funny because, like, neither me nor my opponent neither one of us had a bad week in the first week of the championship. We both had, like, pretty decent weeks. But it is funny because I felt like I had a terrible week.
You're just mad because it's still close after a week.
Yes, I scored 130 points, and it's half PPR. We're like 130 in this league. It's kind of the average score for the top teams. Like it's it's a good week. It's not an amazing week, but like if you score
one
130,
quarterback league, half PPR, so it's going to be hard to get those big scores kind of thing.
Yeah. But like 130 you feel okay about. And the only reason I made it to 130 is because we have kickers and defenses, and
Which I hate.
I played. Yes, I hate them as well. They're the worst. But like I killed you in the semifinals because I played the Raiders defense, and then I won this past week because I played Jake Elliott, who had a million field goals, and so I sort of skated by
I feel like a
on.
fraud, Josh. You should.
It was not a good week. I'll be totally honest. AJ Brown and
Christian
Cooper
McCaffrey.
Kupp. Yeah, I skated by on Jake Elliott, Christian McCaffrey, and Lamar Jackson because I feel like nobody else had a good week. So I
And
survived.
you benched
Yippee.
Puka.
Yeah, I didn't play Puka.
That was a boo-boo.
I felt so big. But like you never know which week is going to be a Puka week and which week's a Cooper Kupp week. So this week I'm starting both of them. And somebody's going to go off
I'm getting
in my
30
lineup.
from somebody.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? The net outcome is better because they're going to combine for probably 40 points. The issue is that one of them is going to score 25 and the other one's going to score like 10. So like I'd rather just have the 35 total than the 7 that I would have got if I started the wrong one. So, you know, Puka and Cooper Kupp are in the lineup. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm only up by 4 points going into the final week, and that's just no cushion whatsoever. So I don't feel super confident about winning this thing because I'm just trying to prepare myself mentally for the loss.
Just staying alive.
It really is bad for the soul because you want to know, like you're in the championship week, you really just want to know how it's going to shake out. Like, I don't want to be in this limbo where I have absolutely no clue what's going to happen. I really just want to know, like, I'm either going to get my butt kicked or I'm going to win convincingly. I don't like this whole, I don't know. I just got to wait and see. No, I don't want to wait and see. I want to know. I want to know right now how it's going to go.
And that is the fun part / annoying part of a 2-week championship is like after 1 week, you're still like, I could still lose next week.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Add some suspense.
I just need to hit every single start-sit decision once again. I need Christian McCaffrey to go absolutely nuclear once again. It feels
Just
like you're hoping
one
lightning
more
strikes
week.
twice.
One more week.
It's brutal. We'll
It
see how
always
it
feels
goes.
bad, too, when you pop off that first weekend. You're like, okay, I know they're going to come flat next week then.
Yeah, and I think I do feel, on the one hand, pretty good because the matchups last week were not great. The matchups are a lot better this week. Like, Travis Etienne obviously was horrific last week. He laid an absolute stinker against Tampa Bay. A.J. Brown was not good against the Giants. Cooper Kupp, I guess the matchup was okay because Puka dominated, but like it's the Saints, and the Saints have been a pretty good defense. The Lions played Minnesota, and Minnesota's had a pretty good defense. So I don't know. It wasn't amazing, but like this week, I get Travis Etienne against Carolina. I get Christian McCaffrey against the Manders. I get A.J. Brown against Arizona. Cooper Kupp and Puka against the Giants. Michael Pittman plays Vegas. So, I don't know.
I'm excited for Pittman to be back because I need Jonathan Taylor to do good in the fantasy championship for me.
Man, Michael
And
Pittman
Pittman
has
being
been
there-
so fun this year.
Pittman being there makes the whole offense good.
He does. Dude, he's great. I repent, okay? I have not been a Pittman fan for a very long time. I
I
repent.
called you out on it in the offseason.
You've called me out on it for 2 years consecutively.
The first year
And-
I was wrong. It was because I knew Pittman was good, but I thought Matt Ryan would be good with him, and I was dead wrong about that. But
Yeah, Matt Ryan was washed. He's a good player. And Gardner
Yeah.
Minshew is just good enough that he keeps the offense rolling. I'm so curious what Michael Pittman becomes when Anthony Richardson is elite and playing quarterback for them. Because I think it's a foregone conclusion now that Anthony Richardson is awesome. And I just wonder what that awesome looks like for that team.
Yeah, and I think you were worried a lot about the passing volume, but I think when you've got a guy like Michael Pittman, it doesn't really matter anymore. Like, he's going to go out there and get 10 targets.
Yeah, and to the switch from Anthony Richardson to Gardner Minshew, like, it's a massive uptick in passing volume. If I knew Gardner Minshew was the quarterback for basically the entire season, I would have projected a significantly better year for Michael Pittman because I just knew that he was going to get a lot more targets.
Yeah.
But yeah, even still, he's been a lot better than I thought he would be.
For sure.
Shall we talk about some things we learned this year?
I didn't learn anything.
Oh, great. All right, guys. Well, see you next week.
Yeah. Peace.
I figured the way we could do this is we could just go through each major positional group and, I don't know, reflect on what the season has been a little bit and sort of like what the major takeaways are. I'm sure once we get into the true dynasty season, there will be some like really specific things. It's going to be great.
I'm excited about talking about dynasty every week.
Dynasty's so much fun.
It is really my favorite way to play fantasy.
Yeah, it's great. The main takeaway here for running backs, and feel free to jump in or tell me I'm stupid, but
you're stupid.
I feel like chasing ambiguous backfields for running backs is just failure waiting to happen. Like, you can hit the home run, I guess, but for the most part, there's no home runs to be found with ambiguous backfields this year. 8 of the top 12 running backs as of recording all have 200-plus rushing attempts. And the exceptions, those 4 exceptions to the top 12 are Breece Hall, who we're not factoring in the Thursday night. This was compiled before Thursday night. But
yeah, Breece is now the running back 3, which I did not realize until I pulled up like the rankings of players. I'm like, holy crap.
Well, he was like the RB12 yesterday. So, but, you know, prior to Thursday night, I think he had 9 catches Thursday night. So I guess if you factor those in, he has 74 receptions, which is crazy. Jahmyr Gibbs has 5.6 yards per carry and 10 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara has 73 catches, and Bijan Robinson has 48 catches. And those are the exceptions to the rule for the 200-plus attempts thing. You'll notice a trend
with all these guys, with the exception of Raheem Mostert, who has 25 catches. Christian McCaffrey at 1, obviously 63. Breece Hall, 74 catches. Rachaad White, 56. Travis Etienne, 51. Jahmyr Gibbs, 51. Alvin Kamara, 73. Kyren Williams, an exception at 47. But then, yeah, you've got Joe Mixon at 47. James Cooks at 40. Bijan Robinson at 48. Like, it is receiving.
Yeah, it's guys, honestly, like the top 20 is littered with players that are kind of just the main guy for their offense, whether that be on receiving downs or in that 200-plus carry threshold range. There's obviously some guys like Dave Montgomery. I think he's RB13. He's got 200-plus carries. Gibbs is the guy getting the high-value touches in the end zone and getting the receiving work. But, like, the guys that are good are the guys that get all the work. Rachaad White was lower drafted this year, but he has a complete stranglehold on the Tampa Bay backfield. And, like, if we would have known that, we would have drafted him higher. But I didn't think he was any good. So I didn't want to draft him.
This is true.
But, I mean, he's got all the work. So, like, the guys that are good this year at running back are the guys getting all the work. And then those exceptions, the guys in ambiguous backfields. There's really only 2 running backs in the top 12 that are in true ambiguous backfields, and those are Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson. And I qualified a ambiguous backfield as 2 running backs, or at least the other running back getting 150-plus carries. So like a true split. and Gibbs and Bijan both have top 12 draft capital this past year. They're both extremely talented. And when they get the ball, they have shown that they're freaks. So it was
Bijan
always
may be
going to
the most
happen.
Gifted running back, and Gibbs is I mean, he's great himself, and the Detroit offense is incredible. So he is wildly efficient.
Yeah. So all that to say, when you're targeting running backs, target guys who get all the work, because the ones that have been in those ambiguous situations, like I remember it was an in vogue thing to go and draft Khalil Herbert or to go target Roschon Johnson from the Bears backfield. They haven't done anything.
Trying to pick the one out of three, like you got a 33% chance of making it. And if they're in a committee to begin with, what are the odds they truly hit, kind of thing?
Right. You think too, like Isaiah Pacheco, I think we thought it was more ambiguous than it ended up being. He's just, when he's on the field, he gets all the work, and he's been pretty good.
He's still in the RB18, though.
Oh, well, there you go. I guess he hasn't been scoring. Is that what it is?
Probably.
Because
he also doesn't catch passes. He doesn't score as much as he should, and he does not catch passes.
That will do it. So, yeah, I guess how I'm going to interpret this season in Dynasty is taking less shots on running backs. I'm going to just buy into running backs that I know are good, that I know have the work for their offense. And I'm just not going to buy into some of the nebulous backfields, the ambiguous backfields, the exceptions to the rule. The guy, because it's going to happen. There's going to be somebody who pops up in the offseason where we're like, oh, they could be really good. Sell that player immediately. Because, there's a pretty decent chance they won't be anything.
And there are some guys who are exceptions, like you said, with Bijan and Gibbs. But you have to look at the whole picture with them.
Yeah. Those were already exceptions anyway, because I think we knew that they were going to be ambiguous backfields
running backs
from
don't
the
go top
jump.
12, though,
right,
to not get used.
Exactly. That was the thing with them is we knew there was a chance that it wasn't all sunshine and roses this year, but you draft a player that high to use them. We knew they were really good players, and so it was only a matter of time before they ended up producing like good players. And as it turns out, Jahmyr Gibbs has been absolutely fantastic, and Bijan, for most of the year, has been really good when they give him the ball. It's just been the times they don't
Arthur
give him the
Smith
ball.
isn't a psychopath, he'd be fine.
Right. Yeah, and I think if you put Bijan on any other team, he would have 250-plus touches right now.
Yeah, and I've seen a few people. I don't necessarily agree or disagree at the same time. I feel like it can go either way. Some people ranking Gibbs over Bijan in Dynasty. I'm kind of 50-50 split on it myself. I love Gibbs, but Bijan is also that guy. But if he was on a different team, this would not be a conversation. He would be in his own class of running back.
Yeah. It is it's a conversation, I guess only because Gibbs has been so good.
Gibbs is great.
Gibbs is fantastic. And he's been good recently, which is the other part of it. A lot of times in fantasy when you're looking at these values, it's what have you done for me lately? And Gibbs has been really good for me lately.
Well, I guess a part of it too, which I kind of agree with some people's argument, is Bijan still has yet to take over. We saw Gibbs start out slow, which we expected. But as the season progressed, he's getting more and more and more involved to the point where he's pushing David Montgomery out of the red zone role.
Yeah.
Whereas Bijan hasn't really progressed in his own backfield. He's still good. He still gets a lot of work. But Tyler Algier hasn't gone anywhere, and Tyler Algier's actually gotten more work lately than he was earlier in the season.
Which, if you watch the Falcons play, it still makes zero sense because
I see Bijan and I know he's good.
Yes, when Bijan touches the ball, great things happen in a similar way to Jahmyr Gibbs. And Tyler Algier can be the David Montgomery, and he has been.
But then the Lions said, oh, we should get the Gibbs ball more, and then even more good things will happen.
Exactly. And for whatever reason. We get it. I feel like every single week there's a moment when we're like, Arthur Smith is an idiot, because every single week it's like, why does this player who's clearly amazing not touch the ball more? That's every single week. There's somebody on the Falcons who's amazing and doesn't touch the ball.
2 weeks in a row, Kyle Pitts has had a long touchdown. Like, oh, look what happens when you throw Kyle Pitts the ball deep. And then he has one target the rest of the game.
Yeah. I don't get it. 2 weeks ago, it was that Tyler Algier had more touches than Bijan, Pitts, and London combined. And it's like, so we've got a puppy. And he's really cute. He's great. But he is stupid. And he will just like stare at me while he poops on the floor. And I am telling, like,
that's not
stop.
Stupid. That's disrespect. He's like, no, I'm crapping on this floor, and you're going to look at me while I do it.
Yeah, he's looking at me like, I know that I'm not supposed to do this. You tell me all the time that I shouldn't do this, and I'm doing it anyway, and you can't stop me. That's what Arthur Smith is. He's like, you can't stop me. I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
He's right. We can't. There's nothing we can do.
We cannot stop you. We can just complain about it.
Exactly.
Vehemently.
So we're complaining about it. Okay, a wide receiver. One of the main takeaways I had was you should trust your gut at wide receiver. I went and looked at the ADP of the top 12 wide receivers in the NFL or in fantasy football coming into the season, and I realized that none of them were like flat out and out busts. Cooper Kupp has still looked like Cooper Kupp for like half the season. T. Higgins has still had 4 top 10 weeks. Garrett Wilson now has, if you include last night, 163 targets on the season. So, like, I think there's still things to point to say all the guys that we thought were the top 12 players at wide receiver, the guys that we thought were good, they're still all good. And for whatever reason, they haven't quite all lived up to that initial hype. And I think the reason has universally been injury related. Not that these guys went out and were bad.
Or their quarterbacks, because we've had a lot of quarterback injuries this year.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we talked about Jamar Chase a little bit before we hit record, and like he's still looked like Jamar Chase, but the offense stunk for a month and a half, and then Joe Burrow got hurt, and Jake Browning being the quarterback is just not the same. And so he hasn't had that same weekly ceiling.
Yeah. So when like we go into, and I've seen people trying to argue like how close like CeeDee Lamb or somebody or Amon-Ra is to Chase, and like in my head it's still there is a gap. Like Jamar Chase is still that guy. It's just a weird year. He's gonna be back next year.
Yeah.
Like if Dak Prescott had gotten hurt, you'd be arguing for Chris Olave over CeeDee Lamb. Like that's the kind of stuff that was happening.
Yeah. It's funny, too, because, like, Jalen Waddle and Chris Olave both were in the top 12 in ADP. And I think at different points in the year, like, Jalen Waddle has been a little bit disappointing. But I think at different points in the year, we've said, these guys are fantastic. Like, they're incredible players. And Derek Carr stinks. Or Jalen Waddle's injured. And Tyreek Hill's just being incredible. Like, it's just such a weird year in the sense that none of the top receivers have gone out, played football, and looked bad at playing football.
No, they've all.
So maybe that's just
long story short of this is going into next year, it's going to stay the same.
Right. And I think that's
Same
probably
guys.
where I'm going with it. It's a sign that like the receivers and the way the NFL is right now is it's a passing league. And so these receivers are incredibly valuable to their teams, and they get targeted. And when you target these guys, they produce. Like they're going to be really good. And I don't really see any of them kind of dropping off the face of the earth. Like Allen Robinson, remember him a couple years ago?
Holy smokes! I saw him actually catch a pass in the last Steelers game, and I'm like, oh, I forgot he existed.
I forgot he played for the Steelers. I kind of thought he was out of the league. I'll be honest.
No, he's in Pittsburgh.
That's wild. So yeah, I think I was looking for the Allen Robinson, the guy that went out and played and just was bad, and there wasn't one. It was just guys got injured. Justin Jefferson got hurt. You know,
Garrett Wilson lost Aaron Rodgers, and Jamar Chase lost Joe Burrow, and
yeah.
even when Justin Jefferson came back, he didn't have Kirk Cousins, and
the guys that have surprised, the guys that have surprised, like Keenan Allen and Mike Evans, we already knew they were really good.
We shouldn't really be surprised by that, though.
We were not all that. We just thought they were too old. We sort of discounted them because they're old. They're not too old. They're still really, really good football players. So maybe the only true, complete left field, where did this come from, is Puka Nacua. And, okay.
But that's a guy jumping into the ranks, not falling out.
Exactly. That's just another member of this committee, I guess. So maybe receivers are just the polar opposite of running backs, where like
There's so
running
many good
backs,
ones.
yeah, there's so many good ones, and with running backs, there's like 3 or 4 good ones. And outside of those 3 or 4 good ones, there's players that get all the work for their team, and that's how fantasy is for running back right now.
Yeah. Like Rachaad White should not be a top
No.
5 running back, and people are talking about him like a top 10 dynasty running back, and I don't 100% disagree, but like there are teams like, say, the Lions have 2 running backs that are better than him, or like there's
Yes.
I would say go as far as to say Aaron Jones, even though he's old, is probably a better running back than Rachaad White. A.J. Dillon is probably on the same level as Rachaad White. Like, there are teams with multiple guys as good, if not better, than him. But he's the only guy on his team, so he gets all the work.
Yeah, and like at the beginning of the year, I thought Sean Tucker was going to steal his job, and then he didn't.
I haven't heard of Sean Tucker in like 4 months.
Yeah, he just hasn't done anything. He's disappeared. He never showed up, I guess. He never got off the bus. So yeah, with wide receivers, it's the guys you know are good, and they're good. Another takeaway here, and maybe this has something to do with running backs because the running back landscape is just what it is, but it's kind of a trend across all positions. It's that difference makers make a difference for your fantasy teams, and especially in Dynasty, when we're looking at the future, I think it is worth buying into these difference-making players. Christian McCaffrey, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Travis Kelce's still the tight end 1. Christian McCaffrey is 5 PPR points per game, clear of the RB2, which is ridiculous. Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts are head and shoulders above all the other quarterbacks. Dak Prescott has had his moments, but he's still a distant third in points per game to those two. I know there have been a lot of good tight ends, but at the end of the day, Travis Kelce is still the best tight end in fantasy football. So I guess this one is just, there's studs. They perform like studs. Trade for them.
Can't go wrong getting one of the studs.
Yeah.
Don't get cute, is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. Don't get cute. There's going to be guys next year that I think will have a variance in value, like Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, for example, where in Dynasty, there's going to probably be a little bit of a dip in the offseason in their value. Going into this season, they were like so far ahead of everybody else that like you and I can attest to this. You almost couldn't pay your entire team and get those guys because it's just the value of a roster spot was such that people were coming at you with like everything and the kitchen sink, and you're like, I don't think it's worth it because these guys are so good. Yep. Their value is going to probably dip, and it's going to be an opportunity to go pay the kitchen sink for these guys because they're incredible players, and they're going to be incredible next year and the year after that and the year after that and the year after that.
Go buy Justin Jefferson if you can.
Yeah, that was the point of this. I tried to sell Justin Jefferson in a league. I did sell Justin Jefferson in a league.
Is that the one where I bought him?
Yeah.
Ha-ha!
I was trying to sell him for a
that
quarterback. I did.
No, I got hate for that.
You
like
got
I
hate
overpaid
for
for him, that people said. Yeah, people said I overpaid
really?
for him. Yeah.
I didn't think he did. I didn't really want to do it. It was one of those, I think maybe I sent the offer. Or did you? Somebody sent an offer. I think it was me. I sent the offer and then kind of forgot about it and felt bad about it later. What was it? CeeDee Lamb and a first?
It was CeeDee Lamb and like a late for like the 109, I think is what it's going to end up being. 109 or 110 for Jefferson in the third. Which I don't think is that bad because it's a 12-team league. So with deep rosters, so you get 2 for 1. You usually try to trade for studs, but in that league, like sometimes 2 for 1s are better. And
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb is not far off of Justin Jefferson in points per game, so it's fine.
Yeah, and I was trying to trade Justin Jefferson because it's...
And I'm rebuilding too, so people were like, why would you trade CeeDee in a first for Jefferson?
Because it's
Like,
Jefferson.
I don't know, I wanted Justin Jefferson. I wanted him.
My team in that league is in a situation where I went all in to compete, and then it just didn't happen. And I thought I had a really good team, and it sort of just fell apart. Justin Jefferson got hurt. Mark Andrews got hurt. The quarterbacks got hurt. On it, now that I think about it, it was just everybody was injured. Everybody got hurt, and it's tough to win when all your best players are hurt. So I was like, I guess I might kick the tires on a rebuild here. And I kept trying to trade Justin Jefferson for one of the stud quarterbacks or like work something where Jefferson was the main piece to get a quarterback. And nobody bit at all. I was trying for like Joe Burrow, who's scoring no points for anybody right now. I was trying to trade Justin Jefferson and like use that as the main piece for a Joe Burrow deal. And they were like, yeah, I don't want him. Like Kirk Cousins might not be their guy next year. I don't know that Jefferson's all that valuable. It's like, are you kidding me? This is still Justin Jefferson.
He is the best receiver in the league.
Yeah, he's great. And I guess because he got hurt and because Kirk Cousins got hurt, people just forgot that he was incredible. He reminded everybody this past week when he was awesome with Nick Mullins. He's probably going to be really good with Jaron Hall this Sunday. Like,
you give Justin Jefferson 10 targets, and he's going to be fine.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Yeah, trade for some difference makers this offseason. I think that is going to be the key. There's probably some scenarios like that one league where 2 for 1s are probably a good deal. But for the most part, in most lineup leagues, difference makers.
Got to be good 2 for 1s, though. Like, you went from the Dynasty wide receiver 1 to the Dynasty wide receiver 3 and picked up a first. So, like, that's fine.
Yeah, that one's fine. And 2, I probably sold at a time when Jefferson's value was the lowest it had maybe ever been. So that might not have been brilliant, but
I think that was a fine trade for both sides.
It probably ended up just fine. Closing things out here with tight ends. I figured we would just sort of debrief the tight end situation because I think tight ends right now are different than they have been over the past few years.
Very polarizing.
Yeah. And I'm just really curious because we have talked about them over the past few weeks about like where we would rank tight ends, how we would value some of these guys. And I think it just gets a little bit more interesting with the Mark Andrews injury, with the TJ Hawkinson injury. Like, what do we do with the dynasty tight end landscape? And we can throw Brock Bowers in here as well because that, he's going to get drafted super duper high and he's going to be valued really high. I'm just really curious, I guess, how you feel about tight ends in general.
I think we should cut them. Run no tight ends in fantasy football.
Just running backs, receivers, and quarterbacks.
Yes. They bore me, so.
Fair enough. Yeah, get rid of kickers, get rid of tight ends.
There's more of them than there used to be, I'll say that.
Yes, there are.
We've had some additions, thank goodness.
It was about time, wasn't it?
Yes. But I mean, some of them are kind of predictable, some aren't. Sam Laporta is definitely an outlier. Rookie tight ends just they're usually not good, so he's kind of a little bit historic in what he's been doing. Yeah. Dalton Kincaid, he has not been as good of late, but he did go on a tear midseason. I think he's very good. I think he solidified himself as an upper tier dynasty tight end. One that is a little surprising, but might not should be, is Trey McBride, I think. Because he's kind of on your typical tight end path of, we thought he was pretty good coming out, but it's kind of taken him a couple years to get his feet under him and develop. But year 3 is kind of when you start seeing stuff happen for tight ends. And guess what? Here's Trey McBride in year 3.
This is year 2.
Oh, is it? I thought he was a 3rd-year guy. Okay, I'm wrong. Well, still,
this is year 2.
It took him a year to get some traction going, and now he has.
Yeah, Zach Ertz left, and Trey McBride started dominating. That's basically how it shook out, and it also coincided with Kyler Murray coming back at quarterback. Like, he was not amazing to start the year.
So Marquise has been in and out of the lineup.
Yeah, Trey McBride has been kind of the one constant for Kyler Murray, and Kyler Murray just loves him some Trey McBride right now.
That's because he has nothing
and
else.
I don't blame him. Yeah, he doesn't have anything else, but also McBride he's good. He's really good. And I would also be targeting him a lot too. How do you value those 3? Kincaid, Laporta, and Trey McBride for Dynasty?
As far as like where I would rank them?
Yeah. Of the 3, like if you were to, like, I guess, do a keep trade cut of those 3, how would you go?
Yeah. I definitely go, of those 3, Laporta, McBride, Kincaid, I think.
Yeah. I feel like that's probably the consensus opinion on the 3 of them.
Yeah.
I don't know which one I prefer between Laporta and McBride.
Those
today.
are the 2. Like, I think you think with Laporta, McBride.
They're really
I think I definitely
similar
prefer
to me.
Laporta to me. That's just me, though.
I think I need to dive into it more because I haven't watched either one a ton this year. I've watched each of them a little bit, and I've sort of like box score hunted with them a little bit. So
I've probably watched more Laporta than you have, simply because I have a lot of shares of Gibbs, so I watch a lot of Lions games.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he has popped every time I've watched him.
Yeah.
He stands out as fantastic.
I'm trying to remember which Cardinals game it was that I watched. It might have been 2 or 3 weeks ago. And McBride looked like George Kittle to me. And we've been saying for years that if George Kittle was in an offense where there weren't like 87 different good receivers and offensive targets, he would be just a freak of nature. And like, that's where McBride is right now. He just looks so good to the eye test. And also, I think he's leading all tight ends this year in yards per route run. So he's getting targeted when he runs routes. He's scoring fantasy points when he runs route. Like, he's just, I think there's like a combination of the eye test and the metrics that say he's fantastic. And not to say Laporta isn't, because I think Laporta is also very, very good, and there's an argument for him to be the tight end 1 in Dynasty. I just am not 100% sure where I land on the 2 of them. I think they're both awesome, and I think if you've got them, you're very happy. But, like, I don't think I'm definitively one way or the other. I do think there's a pretty decent gap today between those 2 and Kincaid, though.
Yeah, I would say that. But I do prefer Laporta, and maybe I should. I mean, I need to do some diving in. You dive into Laporta, I'll dive into Kincaid. We'll reconvene in the off season. As it stands right now, I think there's if we're going to divide it into tiers for Dynasty, I think Laporta is in tier 1 with Mark Andrews and TJ Hawkinson. I would put McBride in tier 2, though. But, I mean, it's not like tier 2 is bad, because I've got, like, Travis Kelce and George Kittle and those guys in there. So,
yeah. So I just pulled up a list of Dynasty tight end rankings because I feel like it'll be a fun exercise now that David Njoku has been, like, absolutely absurdly ridiculous.
Where did that come from?
Just ridiculous with Joe Flacco. TJ Hawkinson gets hurt. Obviously, Mark Andrews has been hurt. and Travis Kelce's old, frankly. So here's the ranking that Fantasy Pros has, and I'm curious how you feel about it. At 1, they've got Laporta. At 2, it's McBride. At 3, it's Mark Andrews. At 4, it's Kincaid. At 5, it's Kelce. 6 is Hockenson. 7 is Pitts. 8 is Evan Ingram.
Crazy.
9 is George Kittle. 10 is Jake Ferguson. 11 is David Njoku. Are there any other names worth mentioning here? Honestly, no. I think the top 11 are.
I have strong opinions about this list.
I do too. I think this is wild.
Yeah,
but this is
not
this
my
is
favorite
what
list
the
I've ever seen.
consensus says. This is a consensus, like a lot of people contribute to make this list, and this is sort of the net average of that list. I have
maybe I should listen to
pick,
consensus more. I don't know. Maybe I'm just set in my ways of no, these are the guys I like. I don't know. But.
Well, I don't think it's bad to have kind of an opinion about some of these guys, because I think in the offseason, tight ends are going to get traded because people are going to value them differently than other people. And you're going to have tier down trades or tier up trades because, somebody's going to say, I want to trade Travis Kelce for Dalton Kincaid plus and get it done. Some people are going to try and trade TJ Hockenson off the injury for Trey McBride plus and get it done. But this list says you should be trading TJ Hockenson plus for Trey McBride. And that feels dumb to me. But that's
everywhere
sort of
I have
at.
TJ Hockenson, that will not be happening. I can tell you that.
I figured. I figured Hockenson was going to be a no-go off the injury this year.
No, sir.
But having Kincaid at 4, I do think McBride was a nothing burger after his rookie year, and he's now popped. I think that could very well happen with Kincaid. And this time next year, we could look at Kincaid as maybe the dynasty tight end 1, or
And we have seen flashes from Kincaid, so I'm not out on him.
Right. And he's still tied to Josh Allen, so there's always that. But Kelce at 5 feels wild, even though he's 34, because I feel like as long as
Kelce
he's playing, he's still great. Would you have Laporta, McBride, Andrews, and Hockenson over Kelce?
I have.
I feel like those would be
Andrews,
the
Hockenson,
4.
Laporta all ahead of him.
And you'd have McBride after him.
Potentially. McBride is kind of the cutoff to where I don't know if I prefer McBride or if I prefer Kelce. Because I know Kelce's probably going to be better in the short term, especially when
Yes.
Arizona inevitably is going to add somebody at receiver, potentially Marvin Harrison Jr. It's all speculation. It's guessing of where they're going to be drafting, but it could be him. But they will bring somebody in no matter what. So the targets will come down some for Trey McBride. But I'm not saying he's bad. But the short-term value of Kelce, I think, might outweigh that.
Potentially. I feel like in a lot of places where I've got Kelce, I will probably be targeting Trey McBride.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
Because I feel like McBride is going to be perceived. I feel like he's perceived less than Sam Laporta right now. And that's fine. I don't hate that. But I just think the perception of Laporta is he's untouchable. And so I wouldn't be targeting Laporta with Kelce. I wouldn't mind tearing down from Kelce to Kincaid, but I think the production drop from those two could be significant. And so I'm not thrilled about that move. McBride is the maybe move on him before his value jumps in the offseason because the production is not going to be a massive drop-off. Or maybe you I don't know. Kyle Pitts is still sitting there at 23 years old, and it's man, if I can tear down from Kelce for Pitts and a lot.
My gosh, Kyle is just the talent is still there. He's the most talented guy on this list.
He might be. He's very different than a lot of the guys on this list. Laporta, McBride are true tight ends. They're receiving tight ends, but they are tight ends. Kyle Pitts is a wide receiver that's just big. He's a very big, large, tall wide receiver.
But by gosh, Arthur Smith is going to make him block.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
He absolutely will.
He's going to scheme Jonnu Smith open with Kyle Pitts blocking for him.
And I guess, too, like George Kittle's sitting here and he's 30. I don't know that I would be buying George Kittle, but he's had 2 very good years. So,
yeah. I don't know. It is tough.
Yeah, it is. I don't think Jake Ferguson would be over David Njoku in my personal rankings. I think Njoku might even be above Evan Ingram.
I kind of like Evan Ingram a lot. What is?
I know
let me
you
look
do.
At his status.
He's been pretty good.
I need to look at his contract.
He got signed. I think it was like 3 years or 4 years for like 50 or 60 million. David Njoku also got paid as well.
Oh, he's on a 1-year deal. I did not know that. Never mind. He's an unrestricted free agent this year.
Who is? Evan Ingram?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I thought he signed a deal. Did he just sign the franchise tag?
Oh, wait a minute. No, you're wrong. I'm right. You're right. I'm wrong. I was looking at it wrong. I was looking back at the 2022 when he signed the 1-year deal. He did sign a 3-year deal. So
okay.
He's definitely under contract for Jacksonville next year. They have an out in 2025.
Okay.
Sorry. That was very confusing.
I'm tracking. Okay, so I'm just going to give you here's how I would rank these guys, and then, I don't know, you can dissect it. I'd go Laporta at 1. I would go, frankly, I'd probably still go Andrews 2, McBride 3, Hawkinson 4, Kelsey 5, Kincaid 6, and I think I would still probably take Evan Ingram, George Kittle over Kyle Pitts, then have Kyle Pitts, and then like some order of Njoku, Ferguson, Goddard, Freiermuth.
After Kyle Pitts, I don't really care much. Like if I don't have
and
one
even
of those guys,
with Kyle Pitts, I don't know if I care.
No, you don't love Kyle Pitts, but Kyle Pitts is more of a dynasty investment. Like, I'm going to get him, throw him on the bench, stash him, hope he turns into something one day. So, but I like him for that simple fact of not for next season's production, but just a stash.
Yeah. I still think
But the
there's a
rest of
scenario
them-
where he goes nuts next year, but I could just be like,
With that talent,
it's
there's a
wishful
scenario
thinking.
every year he goes nuts.
I
I
know.
still prefer Hawkinson as we've talked about it earlier, as the one. I think once he comes back to playing, he is the one, but I do understand having other guys ahead of him because of the injury. So I'm going to put him at 1, but I'm not going to fight hard. But I think he's in tier 1 of those guys. Laporta and Andrews, take your pick, whichever one you care. I don't really have a preference. I think they're both great. And then, yeah, it's McBride / Kelsey, depending on your situation. Obviously, move Kelsey for McBride if you can. But if you're contending, I'd just keep Kelsey. It's fine.
yeah. Yeah, I think that sort of sums up tight ends. The landscape right now is very different. This time last year, there was Hawkinson, Andrews, Kelsey, and that was the end of the conversation.
Nobody else.
And not
Maybe George
another
Kittle.
soul. Yeah, but I think there was still a perceived massive gap. And maybe Kittle didn't deserve that, but I don't know.
I mean, Kittle's still been good.
He's still
the
been very
tight
good. I think he's
end.
like 3.
He's tight end 5.
Oh, 5. Okay.
David Njoku passed him.
160 yards on Thursday night will do that. That will do that, yeah. Man, if they could just have Joe Flacco all year long, David Njoku would be a top 5 tight end.
They found their long-term quarterback. Deshaun's out. It is Flacco season.
It is the 38-year-old Joe Flacco.
I don't have a problem with it.
It's probably fine. Deshaun Watson, I don't want to talk about him. He's gross.
Deshaun's dead to me. Problem is, everywhere I've got him, I can't move him. Just kind of stuck.
Oh, no. No, you cannot do anything with Deshaun Watson. He is he's locked into your lineup, or you're trading
just on
him
the team.
for pennies on the dollar. That that man, I know he has been accused of many crimes, but perhaps the greatest crime he committed was the highway robbery that he did with the Cleveland Browns front office.
$250 million, man, and I don't even know if he's the third best quarterback on the team.
He might not be. PJ Walker has not been a big drop off, and they cut him.
Dorian Thompson Robinson, or whatever that guy's name is.
Yeah, he might not be much different than Deshaun Watson, and they're paying Dorian Thompson Robinson like $500,000.
I saw more amazing plays out of him than I did out of Deshaun this year.
I saw a whole lot of bad football from Deshaun Watson this year. It makes you feel so bad as an owner when you paid $230, $240, whatever it was, $1 million for Deshaun Watson, and then a 38-year-old comes off the couch and is so noticeably better than your franchise guy. Like, you're having conversations behind closed doors of like, what are we doing? How did this happen? Why is this guy so good with his team and the other guy's so bad? Yeah. How do we make him never show up on a football field ever again? I don't know.
And still not pay him $200 million.
Yeah, how do we get out of this contract? He's looking for,
I remember I was upset when there was rumors that the Falcons might get Deshaun. I'm like, oh, seriously? Might get Deshaun Watson? Pair him with Kyle Pitts? Like, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Whew.
Might have dodged a bullet.
Not that Desmond Ridder is better, but
he's not all that much worse.
At least not like it's gone this past year. We'll see.
No. Oh, that's all I've got for this. Anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
No, I'm excited for last week of playoffs. Hope everybody does well, but I'm also excited for dynasty season, and I'm also really sad the season is ending.
I am fingers crossed doing all kinds of good luck charms over here trying to pull one out in the granddaddy of them all, and I'm so nervous. We'll see how it goes this weekend.
I'm not confident with a lead because my team has proven through many fantasy championships in the past we can't play with leads. we always blow it.
You always end up coming up short.
Yep.
Well, we'll see. I would love to say this time next week we're both celebrating championship wins, but knowing our luck, there's going to be somebody who probably wins and somebody who is very, very sad.
Yep, it's going to happen.
That'll do it for this one. We'll see you guys next week. Maybe we're having another therapy session. Maybe it's just straight Dynasty talk. Who knows? We'll find out with you. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Brothers podcast. If you enjoyed the episode and want to connect to us, follow us on Instagram at FantasyBrothers_ or on Twitter at FantasyBros_. If you want to support the show, you can do that at Patreon /FantasyBrothers.